We're going to be cooking with a little bit of beef tallow today, although we're huge fans of olive oil. That's going to be my second question for you. You know where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah.
How involved is kind of the mob in the seafood trade? How involved were they?
During my time in that life, very involved. You know, I'm glad you brought that up because what people don't understand, in our neighborhoods, our communities, there was no crime, nobody messed with us. We took care of our people. And we had certain pride in certain things, like the olive oil and the wine.
So while we're here in our neighborhood, there's a lady down the street, her dog keeps pooping on the sidewalk. Can we check?
Give me our address. In California, we self-distribute.
You do?
It's the only state, in California.
So
everywhere else we have distributors.
So we can have this at the restaurant?
Absolutely.
All right, done.
Perfect.
Consider it a done deal.
it.
Made it all. Cheers.
No, we shake hands. Remember, we're from New York.
I know.
That's a contract.
I agree. Cheers. Cheers. We got a lot of exciting stuff. This episode, we're going to make this really simple because we want to talk to you. We want to be able to talk and do a little bit of cooking, but most importantly, get to know your story. But what we're gonna do today is we're gonna make like because I knew you were bringing your wines, which we'll talk about, which is amazing, the line of products you got. So I want to do like a braised kind of chicken leg, red wine, chasseur style, right? Like that hunter style braised, stick to the ribs chicken dish. So what we'll do is we'll actually start jumping into it. We'll start cutting it up here. So all we're gonna do is we're actually gonna chop up a bunch of these vegetables and we're gonna get our base going. You wanna hit me up here? I mean, you work in the kitchen. We can just
let me tell you what I do. I cook 2 times a year.
Yeah.
I cook on Christmas Eve and Thanksgiving.
All right.
And I chase everybody out of the kitchen. I don't want any help. I'll do all the cooking. I'll do all the preparation, and I do all the dishes afterwards.
All right.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. You know, part of the experience of sitting down and having a great meal is not having to do the cleanup afterwards. So I said, just give me the apron, enjoy it, and it's all me.
I love it.
I love that.
Twice a year. That's it.
I know.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Andrew.
I'm gonna grab this too. We'll both start jumping in. If you actually, you know what?
Do you want me to peel anything? What can I do?
We'll have Michael just chop up these mushrooms, right? We can just do a basic chop because this is all going in one stew.
Now, basic, just
real
easy?
Just quarter or whatever you want, anything.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, why don't you start peeling those? Right. So when you said Christmas Eve, are we doing the Feast of Seven Fishes here or what?
You know what? We did that. Obviously, I grew up with that, but it's a little bit different out here. You know, my wife is Mexican and she has a huge family, so they weren't into that as much.
Yeah.
So we do it a little bit differently. We always make pasta and we make a number of different things. And I got to tell you, the chef, I have the recipe for meatballs that was my grandmother, and nobody's been able to touch that.
Okay.
And, you know, I used to sit down and watch her. She used to make the meatballs. She used to make homemade ravioli from scratch. And you just can't replace that.
Yeah,
and every time I go to a restaurant, I always order the meatballs because I want to see if it can match my grandmother's can.
There we go.
So do you have the recipe like hidden in the safe?
It's in my head. A couple of the family members know it now. People online ask me for it all the time. I said, I can't share it right now. I'm sorry.
You know, it's funny you say that because Lauren actually said when we were thinking about what we were going to make for this episode, she goes, we should make some meatballs. I go, you don't make meatballs.
This is true.
You don't make meatballs for somebody from New York, Italian.
He was like,
you just don't do it.
He's like, they're going to be horrible to him. I was like, okay, I get it.
Whoa. You say
I mean.
I appreciate that too because Lauren's comes from a Mexican family. I got the Italian side. So like, you know, we're doing pasta and tamales.
We kind of throw everything on the table.
You might remember this, but back in New York when I grew up, we had no Mexican restaurants.
None.
I think it was El Torito Grill was it.
Yep.
And I would never go there. I never even ate a burrito before I met my wife, right? And now I love Mexican food.
That was me too.
God,
the only thing I knew in Jersey was the hard-shelled tacos that you would buy at the grocery store, and it was ground beef. It was taco night, and we were using pre-shredded cheese. I came out here, started eating burritos. That's what I'm like. It's the pizza of the West Coast, right? You go to the East Coast, you get pizza and bagels. You come out here, you get tacos and burritos.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He just took us to one of his burrito joints that he used to go to after a night out. A couple nights ago, we took the kids because we went. We went up to LA, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, Burrito King!" He's like, "We have to stop there." They were really good.
Yeah,
the kids were like, "Whoa!"
Because I don't know that you noticed this. Orange County and LA, they have different burritos and tacos too.
They do. Yes.
It's a whole different world. So it's like. We're up in LA. We went to a service on Saturday night. Awesome. Revival today. Jonathan Shuttlesworth. It was unbelievable. First service in LA over at the Dream Center. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah, Dream Center. Matthew.
Yeah.
Matthew Barnett. Yeah.
Phenomenal guy.
Great people.
Yeah.
Great people there.
So Jonathan took over and started doing service Saturday nights at the his church that he bought across the street.
Yeah.
And so we're pulling out, and the kids were great, right? We always bring them to the service, and they never want to sit in the kids service. So they're sitting there. They were good. It was about almost 2 hours. We're hungry, Dad. We're hungry. So I go, I know the best place. We pull up. We're in the ghetto, right?
There's food there, though.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's little mom and pop places.
Little mom and pop, Burrito King. And we're driving back, and it's just silence in the car.
They were
'cause the
like,
kids
you
are
weren't kidding, Dad. These are the best.
Yeah.
And what I got to love too, menudo.
Ooh.
And pozole.
Oh,
my gosh.
Have you ever had menudo?
Oh yeah. Well,
When?
I
Not
before
since
we
we've been married.
Yeah, because we got kids, and I don't get hungover anymore.
True.
And the problem with menudo, you can't get it. They serve it on Saturday morning in most restaurants.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it's great.
Yeah, we've done the pozole at the restaurant and tried to do some spins on it, although we're bastardizing it with lobster in there because we got the seafood restaurants. So, we're in the seafood trade, which I bring up because there's something I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
Knowing what you know, from your past, how involved, right? How involved is kind of the mob in the seafood trade? How involved were they? I know like Fulton Fish Market,
Yes.
like growing up on the East Coast, like what's the story there?
During my time in that life, very involved.
Yeah.
We actually controlled all those markets. All the Hunts Point markets, all the seafood markets, we had control over all of them. Not as much today, but back then, yes.
Yeah. And that was just because, and that was controlling it by virtue of like their sales or just bringing in the seafood?
It was mostly sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vendors that had relationships with us, a lot of times we'd lend them money, we fronted them, became their partners, but we had a lot of control there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I always knew that growing up in Jersey, but I wanted to know for sure.
Are you putting this in here?
Yeah, throw it in there. The thing about the East Coast is that like all those fish markets, they're not what they used to be.
No, I got to tell you, they were better when we were operating there.
Yeah.
I think, anyway. I don't know how it is right now, but we didn't disrupt the business at all. We didn't do that. At least I don't think so, unless you had a better experience, maybe. Did you?
Yeah, but the thing is, everybody has a bad experience in seafood. Okay. So unrelated to any of your business, I joke. I mean, it's funny. It's like, I tell everybody right now, even in the seafood, why can't I get this product? Why can't I get this product? Where's it from? And it's mislabeled. I'm like, the seafood trade is the most fraudulent trade of any protein or any product for that matter in the United States because number one, so much of it's imported, right? 80% is imported. So you change it, you switch it, you sell it to something else. And in the government, they're just constantly on the chase. They're chasing, you got federal officers now that are inserting themselves into these clandestine operations to try and bust the guys who are bringing in illegal seafood and then repackaging it as legal in the United States. And that's why when somebody goes out to eat and they get sea bass, you don't know what it is. Right? It's the catch-all.
Yeah, everything sea bass.
I don't want to hear that, but next time we order sea bass, they're going to be
questioning.
Yeah, ask them where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here, just so that everybody knows at home, is that we did a basic kind of mirepoix without the celery. I'm not a huge fan of celery when I'm cooking. Releases so much moisture, I don't like that celery juice. So we're just going to get the sweet onions and carrots. We got the mushrooms, which are going to add a ton of flavor. You get that umami from the mushrooms. Creates the base of the sauce. If you're wondering what this is, so this right here
looks like a dog treat.
Yeah, this is our neighbor's dog treat that we grabbed from the backyard. No, I'm just kidding. This is smoked ham hock. So I add this to everything because it adds that richness, that earthiness, and obviously the smokiness.
And where do you get that, Chef?
Just right at the meat counter.
At any store?
So I'll tell you what, at any store. Here's where you look for it though, and this is what people don't know. You always got the meat counter with the fresh meat. You go over to the left where they have the pre-cooked hams. That's where they have these guys right here.
Are they cheap?
They're like $1.20 a pound. And then we'll cook it for flavor in the kind of the broth or the braise, but then you can pull the meat off and you can just add it in tacos or whatever, what have you.
Hey, Chef, do you normally buy your meats in a market, like one of the big markets, or do you have a specific store that you go to?
Well, so if I'm buying it for the restaurants, we try and work directly with the farm. So we'll create the relationship with like the farmer, just like if we create a relationship with the wine, we would kind of get it from you, but then it would probably be distributed through obviously a state.
Well, in California, we self-distribute.
You do?
It's the only state, in California. So everywhere else we have distributors.
So we can have this at the restaurant.
Absolutely.
All right, done.
Perfect.
Consider it a done deal.
Yep.
Made it all. I got ham hock here.
No, we shake hands. Remember, we're from New York.
I know.
That's a contract.
I agree. So you hear that? Just make sure you mark that we can't break that contract.
I'm fully aware. We got it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I buy the wine. It'll happen. Okay.
All right. So before we hit the stove and we get the pan hot, we're going to be cooking with a little bit of beef tallow today. Although we're huge fans of olive oil. That's going to be my second question for you. You know where I'm going with this.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yes, we were in that industry, you know that.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that in the movies, but it's real. We were in that industry.
What's funny about it is now everything's about the seed oils, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, is it a real olive oil? Is it not? For the purposes of nutrition, because everybody wants to cut the seed oils out, the canola oil, the vegetable oil, and everything. And I tell everyone, I'm like, it's all cut. It's cut to cheapen it, and you got to read the label. But originally, I remember growing up because I started cooking in New York and New Jersey, and I remember. Even Anthony Bourdain wrote about this in his book Kitchen Confidential, was like the olive oil trade. So do you know about this?
Yeah.
The Mafia ran the olive oil trade.
I know. You've been schooling me on it for the last week, so yes, I'm very well aware.
But maybe we can get some inside tidbits. Are they just cutting it?
There are companies here that we still have our hand in that business. I don't want to mention the companies right now. I don't think that would serve me well, but we're still into it. But let me ask you this, on the label now, we have to look at the label and see that it truly comes only from Italy and not from anywhere else. And then it's fairly pure.
Yeah.
Correct?
Well, yeah, it says DOCG, which is that kind of like origin label.
Yeah.
Aren't they supposed to have a harvest date on it as well?
Yeah.
Or is that like true? I don't know.
It's the DOCG. It's like wines too, right?
Okay.
Like when the kind of point of origin in Italy gives them the label, which there's a couple different labels, right? You would know for the Italian wines, but it's the same with olive oil. Treat it like wine. Okay. But what happens is that when restaurants, right? That's why they would hit the restaurant trade, is because when you're buying it off the shelf, it's got the label on there and you can go through. Okay. When you go into a restaurant, restaurants are buying olive oil 5 gallons at a time. Think like New York City, 5 gallons at a time, and they're buying it from distributors who are kind of sketchy. They're pawning it off as extra virgin olive oil.
Isn't that illegal?
Well, I can tell you this. I was part of the Colombo crew, and in our family, we had somebody that was very big in that business. And he took a lot of pride in it, believe it or not. When you would talk to him about olive oil, he was proud that his was so good and so pure.
Okay.
And I believed him. He wasn't cutting it. He wasn't doing anything. He just had pride in it. Some things that, we really, was that Italian pride, I guess. Yeah. But and he sold the company. It's still a big company out there right now, but he sold it, not too long ago.
Because these onions are getting good.
My eyes are watering.
Well, that was the thing, right? So you got two ways of doing it. So they could cut the olive oil and sell the junk, right?
And then, but what are they cutting it with? Do you know?
Vegetable oil, canola oil.
Is it just vegetable oil?
Yeah, like cheap oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, oil that you'll buy for 50 cents a pound or 50 cents a gallon versus the olive oil, which would be like $10. Yeah. But the thing is, then the second piece is what Michael was explaining, though, which I think is interesting, is that so then. The guys that were connected were running the trade, but they were doing it, and the way they made their money was by circumventing like government agencies, right?
Yes. And if you would have cut their olive oil with something, you would have been in trouble. Because like I said, they took pride in it.
Yeah.
And there's certain things, even people that I knew that were in the wine business, they took pride in their wine being great wine, and they didn't want it, anybody messing with it in that way. So
and that's the thing that I think is interesting is like when the pandemic hit, right? And in Italy, and you tell me if this is true or not, like that when the government was screwing everybody over, that actually the mafia was coming back to take care of the neighborhoods, right? Like they were taking care of the neighborhoods, doing it the right way because
Italy
it was the
had
government.
Crazy shutdown. They were like locked in their houses.
Of course, and it's the government that comes in and they're corrupt, right? So it's this interesting kind of complex of power.
Absolutely, Chef. I'm glad you brought that up because what people don't understand, in our neighborhoods, our communities, there was no crime. Nobody messed with us. We took care of our people.
Yeah.
Same in Italy. I know there's this fallacy that we used to prey on our own. Not true, to a great degree. Maybe a little more in Italy, but not here in America.
Yep.
My neighborhood, you can go 2:00 in the morning, walk down the street with your kids, you don't have to worry about anything. If there was any crime, it was us. And the only crime was maybe the numbers business, because it was illegal, but we weren't hurting anybody. People were earning. We had grandmothers, buying numbers from us. So that's a fallacy. We took care of our neighborhoods and our communities. And I think, coming from Jersey, you probably experienced that if you got involved a little bit.
Oh, yeah. We didn't call the police. You work within your own neighborhood. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That's why I always joke. I say, you were the original libertarian.
Very true.
Within the political construct.
People have been asking me lately, we had this issue with some of these Venezuelan gangs, and they said, Michael, what would have happened? I said, they wouldn't have been in our neighborhoods. And if they did come in, they would suffer the consequences. We would get them out, whatever way we had to do it. So we took care of the people in our neighborhoods, and we had certain pride in certain things, like the olive oil and the wine.
There's so while we're here in our neighborhood, there's a lady down the street, her dog keeps pooping on the sidewalk. Can we check?
Give me her address.
No. All right, that is good.
We gotta get this cooking.
I know. Let's get this going.
Are we going in here?
We got our little classic rondo. We've had this for like 10 years, so we always
get rid of it.
Well, I mean, with 4 kids, right? We're just constantly cooking a one-pot meal, and that's what we're doing right here today. I'm gonna start with a little bit of beef tallow. I'm obsessed with this stuff. Lauren uses it in her hair. It's everything in our house. So I'm gonna get this pan soaking hot.
Now, is that in addition to oil, or you use that in the place of oil?
In place of oil to start, but sometimes I'll throw a little extra virgin olive oil in with the beef tallow just to give it a little bit of a different flavor. All right, so we're gonna just throw it. We're not gonna throw it all in there, right? So I'm gonna get this going. I'm gonna get this stewing. So you can we'll give that a little bit of a stir.
Do we get some salt?
Yeah, we'll get a little bit of salt out. You did an episode on a guy that opened up a burger joint. And he was charging prosecutors and police officers more.
Yeah.
Is that place still open?
No.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't think so.
I don't know if I put him on Front Street afterwards. I don't know, but no, it's not open anymore. But yeah, he would charge them more. He didn't like them.
What?
He didn't like them.
So you opened up a pizza joint. Now you got the pizza. And now you moved into the wine. Are there any other food concepts that you kind of were thinking in your lifetime?
Not really. No. I think we're going to end it with the pizza.
Okay.
I'm real excited about the wine now. That's where my major concentration is now.
Yep.
Because we've had a lot of success in the last 2.5 years. So.
Oh, it's been 2.5 years.
Yeah. 2.5. We're entering our 3rd year now.
That's amazing.
And it's funny because it seems like. Italian wines, we know, everybody's asking me, Michael, why not an Italian wine? Well, everybody has an Italian wine.
Yes.
Because I'm Italian, I should have an Italian wine. But people are looking for a different wine. It's either Napa Valley, which is great. We just came from there. We were there for the weekend. Love Napa wines. Italian wines, obviously love. French wines, okay. But people are looking for something different. And we started to talk about Armenian wine. There was a lot of interest. As a matter of fact, Wolfgang Puck just took it into his restaurant.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and he tasted it, and I got to tell you, he was raving about it. I really mean it. He had his sommelier raving about it, so we're excited about that.
So what makes it different? What makes Armenian wine different? Is it the region? Is it
weather? It's the region. Okay. Yeah, I mean, every region has their own, weather and climate and the hillside and all that stuff. I'm not really well versed on that.
Okay.
I'm more into marketing and, bringing people, but yeah, I think so. It's unique. We have just the whole different climate is different and the process. And now our non-alcoholic wine, people are really loving it because it's actually our wine, and then we withdraw the alcohol out of it, so we maintain the taste. People are loving it. Yeah, that seems to be the new thing now. Chef.
Yeah,
non-alcoholic beer and wine.
That's like, and there's some actual. I don't really drink much of it because I don't. If I'm gonna have a beer, I'd rather drink a beer. But I have tried a lot of those non-alcoholic beers. They're not bad.
No, they're good. Yeah, they're good.
Like a beer.
It does. It tastes like a beer. You want to grab some of those mushrooms?
Yes.
We're basically building the base over here. I'm gonna push it over to the other burner, and then we're gonna sear the chicken. Then we're gonna add the chicken back to it, and we're gonna let it all braise. But I wanted to get those potatoes going.
I have a real question about the chicken, and this is gonna sound a little strange for you, but first of all, is this organic?
Oh, of course it's organic.
Of course. Okay. My daughter, who does a lot of the shopping for us, she goes to the market. My family they're all health conscious. My wife has been into nutrition and health, since I'd married her. My daughters are all personal trainers. They're into nutrition, the whole thing. So they keep me healthy. That's why I stay slim, because of them, right? But everything is organic. I get it. But she brought home like 4 pieces of chicken the other day. It was like $43.
I know.
And I said, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, Chef, I'll spend money on anything, but when I go to the market, for some reason, I'm standing at that checkout counter and I'm watching, and I'm saying, why is this stuff so expensive?
Yeah.
And, obviously the organic stuff is. I mean, we buy it, but I just said, I had to ask if that was organic because I want to prove a point to them.
Well, and the thing is, right, is that you got organic, free range, cage free, right? Like you have all these different labels that it starts to look like NASCAR. You don't know what you're getting, what you're going for. What I look for now when I'm doing chicken is, number one, I don't even always seek out the organic, right? Because you can get, for example, like Jadori Chicken, which is a farm right here in California, it's local, is that it's never frozen, not injected, not soaked. I don't think
antibiotics, no antibiotics.
Yeah, no antibiotics. But I don't think they paid for and got the organic label. I could be wrong.
Well, because it costs so much money to get that slapped on your packaging.
Well, that's another thing. Do we trust the organic label?
Bingo.
I'm right with.
Well,
I'm with you.
I just read something yesterday about cage-free eggs that might be a gimmick also.
Yeah.
That it may be better not to have cage-free eggs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's true, because you want to grab the garlic in the garlic press?
Sure.
This is one thing, the timing of adding the garlic is something that I'm
You're going to make me do
pretty
this?
particular about. Yeah, just crush it right into there.
I don't know.
So the thing about cage-free, right, is that it could still be living in a cage. The chicken could never go outside. It's just not in the definition.
They open the door for like, what is it, like 20 minutes a day or something? And then if they walk around, they're like, oh, they're pasture raised.
Yeah, so I look for local, right? Get to know the farm. And if you find a farm that you like, nowadays you can actually start getting it shipped directly to you. So like we found a guy online.
Am I doing all of this?
Yeah,
Sorry.
do it all. We found a guy online, he's in Indiana. And he just started his own farm, right? Chickens, doing eggs, all that.
Phenomenal.
He can ship directly a certain amount of product. The problem is that he can't amp up his capacity, right, to make himself get into bigger retail. Guess why? The government.
Yeah.
He can't find a processing facility, a USDA approved processing facility, which is what you need in order to be able to ship across state lines, retail to retail. Well, the meat packers, I call them the meat mafia, right? They own everything. So they're not going to let any small players come in because they want it to go through them. They want it to go through their processing facility. So they prevent any of the small independent guys from coming in, and that's how they control it. And then they merge with the USDA, and they're basically merged with the government. You know, those big guys, they're part of the government. And the little guys can't get access to the market. So you can't get any of the good product.
Yeah, which is the better product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's get these. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to grab these tomatoes. I'm just doing some fire roasted tomatoes. I usually go like 45 seconds on the garlic just so it toasts. That's one of the problems I think a lot of people make with cooking, and is that they add their garlic
like right when
too
they
early.
add their onions.
Yeah, it kills
and then it burns.
Kills the flavor, right? So we'll just get this stewing here.
Kills the flavor. Boy, that smell is so good.
It is. There we go. All right, so you've got you got the YouTube show you're doing, speaking. You've got multiple books. Your most recent book is
Mafia Democracy.
Mafia Democracy. Tell us about that.
Listen, I've been saying it all along, that the government acts like the mob. And it's, I really get into detail in the book, and I'm not playing sides, Democrat, Republican, it's the system. It's all about money, power, and control. And, listen, a lot of people have read the book and they said, Michael, this book makes me upset. It gets me angry. And I said, it very well should. And the reason I wrote it is so people are conscious of it and that we get this government under control. That's the main thing.
That is such a good kind of analogy you draw, though, like Mafia Democracy, because that's exactly how it feels sometimes. And that's like I'm describing with the meat packers, right?
Yeah.
You got a couple guys that are going to control everything, and they're backed by the government, right? So they're almost their muscle. The government's almost the muscle of the big corporations that are running the food system. You mess with them, then you got somebody knocking on your door.
The problem with our government is, I'm all for term limits in Congress and everything else. I don't know if you've ever visited D.C., but I spoke, in front of the Senate staff on one of the anniversaries of 9/11, and they gave me a tour. These people don't even get wet in the rain. They got every perk that you can imagine. You can't even, we're actually their public servants. They're not our public servants. So they don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
And they'll do anything to remain in power. They come in as blue-collar workers, they go out as multimillionaires. It's a racket, and it's very mob-like, and period. And I think people are starting to see that now. They get it.
It's funny you say that, because I did go to Washington, and when I went out there a couple years ago, I spoke on the small business thing, and it was raining. And I'm not realizing until you just said that it's raining. And I went outside, and a lot of the guys were coming in and going out of the building. Every one of them had somebody carrying an umbrella.
Yeah,
You're
carrying
right.
an umbrella, or they go underground. They have a train underground, so they don't have to go from one building to the other. I know, we rode the train.
So when you say they don't get wet in the rain, you literally mean that.
I literally mean it.
You want to grab me some salt over there?
I got to tell you, it smells good. Making me hungry.
There we go.
Right,
there we go. Yeah,
salty.
just hit it on top. I'm probably not going to cook all this chicken, but I'm just going to get a little brown, a little sear on this. You know, you can do it all in one pot. I'm doing it here while we're sitting at the stove. That way we're kind of expediting the process, so I don't have to keep you here all day. And then by the time the kids get home, the next thing you know, they'll be jumping all over you.
Hey, listen, I got 7 grandchildren, so I get it. We love the kids. It's okay.
7 grandkids.
Wow,
all
that's
right.
amazing.
Well, you grew up in a big family, right?
Yeah.
You had.
I was one of 7.
One of 7.
Okay.
My dad was one of 19.
What?
Yeah. So I can't tell you how many cousins and nephews and nieces. Crazy. And my wife.
19. That's amazing.
So Italian, right?
Yeah.
My wife, her dad was one of 23.
But when do you start and stop having kids at that point?
Yeah, and all with
Like
the same
on the year?
woman. Both. My grandmother had actually 21 kids. Two of them died, but same woman. My grandmother she died at the age of 89. She was 90 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine having 21 kids.
That is unbelievable.
I know.
No, I mean, I can't.
Well,
Catholic?
my dad, yeah, Catholic, of course. My dad and my aunts told me they never remember seeing their mom not pregnant.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
I mean,
makes
you're
sense.
pregnant for a little less than a year, right? And then,
boom.
and then pregnant again.
Right again.
You see, so when I say 5, it's not that big of a deal.
Okay. No, we no. No.
You have 4, you going for 5?
No. He wants to, but I finally feel like a normal human being again. So
See,
no.
but the thing is, she says that, but then like we'll be, driving somewhere and she's flipping through her phone, looking at photos of baby. She's like, maybe 5, and then starts showing me the baby.
Yeah, but then they start acting up and screaming and fighting, and I'm like,
that's all.
actually, we're fine with
know.
4.
Yeah.
So-
Hey, I'm gonna throw this dog leg in here now. Throw the
Oh,
smoked
so
ham.
just put it in there like that.
Yep. Just put it in there like that.
Chicken is not the easiest thing to cook. No. It really isn't. I cook it on the grill, and you don't have to spend a lot of time on it. But I don't like when it's overcooked. When it's dry, it dries out so quickly.
Yeah.
There's a couple of restaurants that I go to that they know how to make the chicken right. Otherwise, I won't order it anymore.
That's why I go with the leg meat all the time. Yeah. We don't eat enough leg meat. The leg meat is great. It braises down. It gets that melting tenderness. Chicken breast, the problem with the chicken breast is they inject it with so much junk that by the time...
what it is?
Yeah, they inject
Did
it
they inject even the organic, no antibiotic one?
No. The no antibiotic isn't, but the problem is, it's tripolyphosphate, right, which is a sodium solution.
Okay.
So it actually, if you overcook it, it makes it tougher. You hit it at the right point, it's fine. So it's like supposed to insulate the chicken and it adds water weight so they can charge more. And it insulates the chicken, so you go back to it. But
I just don't eat the dark meat. I guess for like.
And I love the dark
like
meat.
the calories and stuff I don't know. Does this have a lot of protein like the breast?
oh yeah, it's got just as much protein. We're a dark meat family all day. Plus it's cheaper.
me too.
Plus it's cheaper. I'm gonna grab this. We just had a bottle of wine that I was gonna cook with. I don't want to ruin your wine.
Now, how often do you add wine to whatever it is you're cooking?
I always add wine or alcohol. And this is what not always, but anytime I'm doing something saucy, and here's why, what people don't realize. People think, oh, you add alcohol because it's gonna add all this flavor. It adds flavor, but not the way people think. Alcohol is a catalyst, from a chemical perspective, alcohol brings out flavonoids that otherwise wouldn't exist in the absence of the alcohol. So the mere presence of alcohol creates and synthesizes flavors that would otherwise not bloom. So that's why like penne alla vodka is so good, is because the alcohol content is so high that it brings out all the flavors in the tomatoes and the herbs and in the sauce that otherwise wouldn't come out.
And that was a healthy dose of wine.
Healthy dose of wine, yeah, because I want to bring out all the flavors in all of this, yeah.
So anytime you do something that has a sauce, you add wine to it.
Anytime, yep.
Or you can add the alcohol, right?
Yep, and then what I'm gonna do here too is, see we're getting all those beautiful brown pieces that are sticking to the pan? That's called the fond in French. Freaking the French own everything about cooking, which is French for foundation, right? So we'll deglaze that with the alcohol, and that'll catalyze those flavors. We'll add it, put it into the sauce. We're gonna throw the chicken here in the sauce in a second. We're gonna add a little bit of water, and we're gonna cover it, and then we're just gonna let it simmer for like 5-10 minutes. We'll get back to the cutting board. We'll chat more, and then we'll have our braised chicken dish.
It's great.
There we go, right? Just get that nice that beautiful golden brown crispiness on the exterior.
Now, let me ask you this. Are you into really pairing food with wine?
I like pairing food with wine. I try not to get too granular and like particular on it because I feel like people overthink it. But I do like generally pairing food with wine. But I'm also weird, right? I like red wine with fish. And I know that's kind of a faux pas.
That's what they say, but I'm the same with you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. See? There we go.
There we go.
I like red wine, period. I mean, every once in a while, a white, you know, really before dinner. I don't like wine with my dinner.
Same exact way. I have trouble drinking when I'm eating like certain alcohols, wines. Like I'll do our routine, you know this, I'll do a Campari and soda, glass of wine, then eat. And then maybe after dinner, like some sort of an after dinner.
I can tell you something right now. My son-in-law just stood up. He's watching. He's going to have to leave a little early. He has an appointment, but he can eat. And he's probably saying, I'm going to miss this meal.
Oh, we got, don't worry, we got doggy bags. We'll make sure that you get some home.
With him.
Yeah.
Or
now
with you guys for him.
Just deglaze that a little bit.
I'm impressed. I'm going to tell my wife, a lot of wine we put in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, people usually put just a little bit, but you can really pour a heavy hand if you wanted to.
Well, so the derivation of this dish is called chasseur chicken, right? Which is like a classic hunter's stew. And they would use the wine because they were using a lot of gamey chicken originally. They would like shoot it. It was just that game bird. And the wine would kind of dilute the flavor of the gaminess of the bird. So it became one of those almost like beef bourguignon or one of those traditional dishes that has that wine flavor in there. So we're really going to pick up the wine flavor, which is kind of part of the dish. But I still do use a lot of wine when I'm cooking. So what we're going to do here, right?
That smells great.
There you go.
You know, I have to tell you, some of my favorite dishes, I love soups, I love stews, I love, you know, anything like that, like this, I just love. It's comfort food.
It is. It's comfort food, exactly. You know, when we did, growing up, I remember like the one meal my mom would make was like, it was, because we were from Northern Italy,
Right.
like Piacenza area. That's where my whole family came from. So it was a lot more of that Tuscan country cuisine. That was like double starch, right? So chickpeas, white beans, and polenta.
Yeah.
You're eating, and then if you're lucky, you're getting a little bit of braised meat in there, or bacon, just to add that extra piece. And that was something my mom used to make, actually. And it was something in the wintertime where she would make it on like a Sunday night, and then we'd eat it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we were good to go.
But be honest, what did you eat growing up?
What did I eat?
Be honest.
Pizza. That's all I ate. That's all I ate. So I'm going to put this on a low simmer. We're going to cover it, and then we're just going to let it kind of stew.
I really don't think you can find anybody that doesn't like pizza.
Yeah.
I've never come across anybody that doesn't like pizza.
No.
It's like the number one.
What's not
food.
to love?
I know.
Yeah.
All right, let's take this back to the cutting board. All right, so just a quick recap right now. We on the stove, we got going our braise, our stew, whatever we want to call it, kind of our hunter style chicken. So it's dark meat, carrots, onions, garlic. We braised it down with a little bit of red wine, fire roasted tomatoes. What else we got in there? Oh, we put the ham hock in there, the smoked ham leg. So we're gonna let that kind of braise, and we're gonna just talk a little bit here. We've been talking about the wine a bunch, so I wanna kind of get into this in more detail. So so you've got the company right now,
Yeah.
and is the name Michael Franzese wine?
Yes.
Okay, and this is Armenian wine, so
Yes.
Armenian grapes. Now I've seen a lot of this. I've talked, right, especially in the restaurant industry, Armenian wine. We got a huge Armenian community here in Los Angeles, Southern California. But if you go other places, like my dad who's on the East Coast, well now he lives in Florida. Like if I tried talking to him about Armenian wine, there'd be like, I'd have to really get into it.
A little bit of a disconnect, but lately, the thing is, this is from the world's oldest vineyards.
Okay.
And again, going back to the story, and this has been, you know, it's been Forbes magazine, it's been written about a lot. The oldest vineyards were found there. Noah's Ark, flood, it lands at the foot of Mount Ararat, which was Armenia. The floods subside, and under the new civilization, the first vineyards were planted there at the foot of Mount Ararat.
Okay.
It's Armenia. There is some people that say it might have been Georgia, but we believe it's Armenia. And like I say, we have the literature to back us up. So this one here, it's called Irene, and it's really the mother of Pinot Noirs.
Okay.
It's kind of light, really a good tasting wine for the price. You can't beat it. You know, our price point is terrific.
What's a bottle?
This was selling in stores for $24.99.
Okay.
Yeah, not bad. Anything under $30 is considered, really reasonable. Anything over that is kind of an elite wine.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that. But and this has been very, very popular, going off the shelves. We also have a Malbec.
Okay.
A little bit different than the Malbec from South America. A little bit different, but people are really enjoying it. We have a Sauvignon Blanc. And again, people are enjoying that. White wine, if you like it, it's a good one. And then we have this pomegranate wine that for some reason has been flying off the shelves. I think because people that are into pomegranate have never heard of the wine before.
So cool.
They're making sangria out of it. And people are just loving it. They're cooking with it, doing everything with it.
Is it sweet?
It's more kind of tangy,
Okay.
Pomegranate is not really that sweet.
Yeah.
It's got a distinct
A
taste.
little tart.
And of course they love the bottle. So
Yeah, that is cool.
It's
So
been doing well.
is the process the same as with regular wine?
Pretty
with
much,
pomegranate?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
very cool.
Pretty much the same.
That's amazing. I love this bottle. How'd you come up with this?
I didn't. I can't
you
claim
did?
credit. No, it's our my partner's uncle. He owns the vineyard, and they came up with this bottle.
It's very unique. I can see why it sells just for the bottle alone.
And we now have a blackberry that's coming up in a blackberry type of bottle also.
So cool.
it seems to be doing well. But I have to ask you, do you have wine with every meal?
We don't.
No.
No. We do raw cranberry juice in place of wine.
Okay. So once in a while?
Yeah.
Once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Once in
yeah.
a while.
Well, how about you?
Almost every meal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
My grandfather, when he came here from Italy, we lived in Brooklyn. Again, the father of 19 kids. He was making wine in his basement in Brooklyn. And we came out of Greenpoint. And at 10 years old, he had us drinking wine. We had to drink it.
Yeah.
Sit down, have your glass, So I mean, so wine to me was never something I would go to a bar and order.
Yeah.
Always family, always sitting down, always have dinner. I got to tell you, I don't know if you know about my former life, but every time we had something to resolve, we did it in a sit down. No matter what it might be. It could have been something very serious, could have been a business dispute, could have been somebody's in trouble. We got to, talk for him or against him. Wine was always served because it kind of calmed things down.
Yeah.
Every time we had dinner, we had wine. And I associate it with that.
Well, I
It's
think,
bringing people together, really.
Yeah.
and that makes sense too, because I think just intellectually we should be doing wine with business meetings and not coffee, because everybody gets so jacked up on coffee and cold brew now. They sit in the meeting and they sound like a bunch of fools. They're just yelling and yapping because everybody's so jacked up
Let's
on
change
caffeine.
it to wine.
A little bit of wine.
Instead of coffee.
It works, calms things down, and
What were some of the meals that you guys would eat like when you were working in your old life, just with the family? I mean, was it the cliched spaghetti dinners? Was it the meatballs?
I wanna
we
know.
always had pasta. Pasta was always served. The night that I got made, I took the oath. It was Halloween night, 1975. Joe Colombo's son had a catering hall. And so we did it in the catering hall. It was obviously a covert night. We had to make sure nobody was following us. But after it was done, we went into the other side and we had a banquet. And pasta was served, and yes, meatball was served, and we had Bruel during that time.
Bruel.
Yeah, Bruel. You don't hear about that much
I don't even know
anymore.
what that is.
Oh,
What is it?
the chef will tell you. It's delicious. It's kind of a rolled beef with certain spices inside of it, and you cook it in the gravy. We didn't call it sauce back then. It was gravy.
Yep.
You know, I don't know when we started calling it sauce. I can't even remember. But I always grew up with gravy.
That's why you will appreciate this. That's why our show is American Gravy.
Yeah.
That's exactly why. People don't understand what real Sunday gravy is.
Yeah, it was gravy. And it was a little thicker, you know, because we had beef and pork and meat. Everything was in there. And Bruel was so good. You know, my grandmother used to put the skewers in there, roll it up, you know, sometimes put string around it, but delicious, right? You can't really find that.
No,
anymore,
nowhere.
Especially out here.
No, we made it at the restaurant a few times just for the guys, but it's just like, it's a tougher cut of meat because you're braising it. So, I mean, you can use any of the tougher cuts of meats and then it's flattened and then you roll it up. So a lot of times it's got spinach lately that's been bastardized. They put some cheese, garlic and cheeses in there,
you
different
gotta make
spices.
this for me.
You roll it up, right? You tie it, each one individually. And also, I've also seen more saltimbocca style. They've been putting like pancetta. Some chefs have been doing that lately on the inside, right? And then you take it and you sear it on the outside so it's just golden brown and delicious. And then you put the gravy on there and you braise it in the oven so when it comes out, it's meltingly tender, it falls out, and you got the filling in there, and then the meat juices, they start to infuse into the gravy.
My mouth is watering.
I feel like we need to bring this back.
We should have done that as an episode. This one, we got to do another episode.
We'll do another one, yeah. No, it was great.
Now, you know, it's funny. I listened to your episode. It was probably 6 years ago, gosh, when you were on Adam Carolla. And you told him the story about the night that you were made, and you said Halloween night, 1985.
75.
What's that?
75.
75.
Yeah.
Sorry, 75. And Adam kept asking, which freaking Adam Carolla, what were you wearing? Because it's Halloween, right? What's your costume?
Yeah. Was it yeah?
Were you
trick or treating afterwards?
Yeah.
We were always a suit. Always a suit. Yeah. Adam asked some crazy questions. I actually going to have him on my show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a riot.
He's funny.
He's got a wine.
Does he really?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if it's his directly.
Well, he was giving it away at his party.
Yeah, but he's in the wine business.
So he's a competitor. I'll have to knock him out then.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. He's so great. Now I just got Adam Carolla whacked.
No.
So then let's fast forward right into your former life. So then you ended up going away for a little while, and you were talking about this on the show with Adam. Like you were in the hole.
Yeah.
You were in what? So is the hole the same as solitary confinement?
It's solitary, yeah. SHU, special housing unit. Yeah, I spent 29 months and 7 days in solitary.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, and it's honestly, Chef, it's rough. It's rough. When you're in isolation like that, in 6x8 cell, 24/7. In the federal system, they're supposed to take you out by policy, not by law, 5 hours a week in the yard. And the yard is just, you're there by yourself because you have to be isolated. And it's just a caged-in area. But they never really took you for that 5 hours. So you're really locked up all that time.
Oh my! Did you have a window?
Sometimes, depends if they move me. Every once in a while there'd be a window, but sometimes no window.
But what about so the reason I bring that up is because naturally this is where I'm going to go. What about the food?
Oh God!
He doesn't want to talk about it.
I got food poisoning 5 times, each time from chicken.
Oh God!
I stopped eating chicken. I don't know what they did to it, why they didn't cook it properly. I don't know what it was, but I stopped. So for a longest time in there, I would eat, cup of soup, the noodles in the soup, because I knew it was, I knew I could eat it, or cereal and bananas. That was it. For maybe a year and a half, that's all I ate.
Oh my gosh.
And if anything, once in a while we had tuna in a can that we can buy from commissary, because I knew it was sealed. I would eat that, but yeah, they didn't take care of the food too well.
So it was your Walkman and your thoughts.
Sony Walkman and the Bible.
There you go.
Got me through it. Yeah.
And now
books my wife would send me in. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So now let's fast forward. So you're speaking now a lot, right?
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of motivational speaking. You're all over the country doing this.
All over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah, I'll be in Australia in April. I was in the UK for a big tour. Did a couple of tours there. I've been everywhere. I've been Singapore, Australia, Bulgaria, United Kingdom, and several other places. Yeah.
Bulgaria's got good wine. Bulgaria, Croatia, Romania.
And cheap.
Yeah.
Bulgaria, I'm going to tell you something. You can go to Bulgaria. You cannot believe it. You can have a 5-course meal with 10 people and spend $200.
Yeah.
Yeah. And food is great. Really good.
I've been there. I've been to Bulgaria. Don't ask me why. I think I just got on the wrong bus.
He goes to random places. I have a question for you though. When you got out, what was the first meal that you had?
When I got out, the first thing, okay, gosh. The first meal?
Yeah. What was like,
it was pasta.
Okay.
I know that. But the first place I went to, I wanted to go to a department store.
Oh.
Yeah. On the way to the hotel, because I was released from Lompoc, I wanted to be around people because I had been confined for so long. So I just wanted to see how normal people were. So we went and we spent like an hour in a department store. It was Walmart.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah. Wow.
So they're repaying me now because they're taking on non-alcoholic wine in 7 states so far. We just made a deal with them.
Full circle.
Yeah, that is full circle.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say like hanging out in like a Burlington coat factory.
No, just Walmart for like an hour, just observing people doing, life.
That's amazing. That's really interesting to think about. Obviously it's not amazing in a good way, but just the idea. I don't think the most Americans can consider, especially now in the age of social media, right? Because where you got to have something going 24/7.
Yeah.
We have this conversation with our kids all the time. Lauren says to them, just the other day, you went off on this.
You're okay to, you can be bored for a second.
Yeah.
I'm bored. I'm like, no TV, no phones, whatever. But then 20 minutes later, they're playing outside and using their imagination, you know? But it's like they get their dopamine hit.
Yeah, and you got it. The idea of being bored. Now, obviously, that's a little bit extreme. You know, we're not talking. We didn't put them in. We're not talking 29 months. Although sometimes I feel like I need to do that. You know, but still.
It's rough, you know.
Well,
but you know, people say, "How did you get through it?" You know, it's amazing what you can get through when you don't have a choice.
Right.
People say, "How'd you do it?" I said, "Well, they didn't say you could either stay here or go home." You know, I had to do it.
Yeah.
So you do it. You get through it.
Now, like, I think what's really interesting, one of the philosophies that we have when we hire people at the restaurants, we have people, I say, look, be honest about your background. I don't want you to lie on the resume. Tell me who you are. Like, I don't care. You're a thief, you're a drifter, a gutter snipe, a street guy, whatever it is. I want to know, because I also want to take your weaknesses and turn them into strengths. We had a guy, I'm not going to say his name, about 10 years ago, came to me, first day of work, doesn't show up. Or he comes in and he doesn't show up. The next day, doesn't show up. I knew the kid wanted to work, so I sat him down. I said, what's going on, right? So basically, delinquent, getting in trouble. He goes, you give me this opportunity, I'm going to make it the best thing ever for you. So about a week in, he starts showing up for work. Our drawer starts going short. So I pull him aside and I said, look, I knew it wasn't him. I want you, I want you right now to tell me how someone's stealing from me. You know, because you would do it, but I trust that you didn't do it. So long story short, guy ended up working for us for like 4 years, became a general manager, traveled around the world with us, ultimately went into military and is now like married with kids, phenomenal guy.
Right.
We didn't give him that opportunity. Who knows where he would have been. But the whole time he worked for us, he always was able to hedge against the guys that were going to steal from us, were going to rip us off.
He knew.
Because he knew, because he had the mindset of, here's how I would do it. That's what he would say, here's how I would do it. And not every time, but most of the time he knew that's how they're doing it, because that's how I would do it.
Absolutely.
Right? So so I tell that story to ask, I mean, does the government come to you and said, hey, like, you know, like, I'm shocked that the government hasn't created an agency for you where it's like, you know how guys are going to rip us off as the government. Like,
well, listen, I've spoken for the government in situations like that, you know, long after I was released from prison. But, you know, the drawback for them is that I understand what they're doing.
That's what I was saying.
You know, I know the kickbacks that are coming back when money is going out the door. You know, I get it, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's what I put in the book. And so some people like that and some people don't like that, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's so obvious to me.
That's so funny, because you're right. I mean, and that's what's going on now. It's like, you know.
I just got to tell you this, you know, without getting too political. You know, this whole thing with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, you know, about the money coming back and these shell companies that they had. Well, they had something like 20 shell companies. Well, I had 18 of them. I knew exactly the whole scam. You know, we had companies that we created, no brick and mortar, no employees, no product. They were there specifically to collect money. In my case, we were defrauding the government out of tax on every gallon of gasoline. So that's all those we opened up a bank account and we were taking tax money in. That was it. So when I saw this whole thing with Biden, I said, it's absolutely a scam. I said, those are shell companies. They have no other business other than to collect money from overseas, wherever he was collecting it. That was a RICO indictment, 1,000%. Suspicious bank accounts was my indictment. That's what I went to prison for. So I called him out, and people were not too happy about it. But and I was a couple on, Fox News and a few of those. They were happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And I said, I guarantee. I actually had Rudy Giuliani on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we had a great conversation.
Which is crazy to me, because Rudy Giuliani was your arch nemesis.
He put me away for 100 years. Yeah, he put me on trial. If I got convicted, he said he was going to give me 100 years. That's what he told me at my arraignment. And now we're friends, right? But I said, Rudy, you've been vindicated. This whole Biden crime family thing, I said, that was a RICO indictment. I said, you had more evidence against him than you had against me, and I was acquitted. He said, you're right, Michael. But, so they don't like to be called out in that way, but it's so obvious.
Yeah.
So obvious.
Yeah. That's good. Oh, my God.
I need to get your book. I need to read it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Well, I'm going
already
to send
read
you.
it.
I'm going to send you copies. Yes.
I'm gonna grab. So we're pretty much done here, right?
done?
So what I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna thicken this up just a little bit.
With what?
Now you can't overcook that. No matter.
That's
if
the
it's,
beauty of it.
If it's just simmering like that, it won't overcook.
Yep. And you know what's nice too is the acid in the wine prevents the pectin in the potatoes from breaking down too much, so you don't get mashed potato in there as the potatoes cook.
So it's the wine that does that.
It's the wine that does that. It's the acid in the wine and the tomatoes as well. Well, I'm just gonna make a little. So what I want to do, right? See how it's kind of runny here? I like a little bit of that coat. So we could reduce it down, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to lose all that juice. So we're just gonna pour a little cornstarch slurry in there, which is just touch cornstarch and water, just to give it a velvety mouthfeel, and then we're gonna be good to go. We'll plop it on the cutting board. We'll pour a bowl.
And I have to tell you this: other than pasta, this is my favorite type of meal. I love stews and I love soups and I love things like that. Stir fries, I love.
And if you think about it, right? So this would feed our family. We put in 2 nice fat, maybe a pound of chicken, $2-3 a pound. We got potatoes, carrots, onions, garlic. $10. So maybe this thing costs, and then obviously the ham hock, which I'm gonna pull apart and I'm gonna eat at like 1 a.m. tonight when I can't go to sleep.
Okay.
So we got about. Yeah, that's fine. We'll do potato starch. Yeah. Okay. So we got about. You want to just do it like a little water, like a little slurry. Maybe.
Am I doing it in here?
Yeah. So $24. There's 6 of us in our family. $4 a person. Not horrible.
More or less?
A little bit more.
A little bit more.
Well, I got to tell you, I got blessed because my wife is a terrific cook. She really is. Any kind of meal. From the heavy gravies that we used to eat, now I'm a pomodoro guy. I like a light sauce.
Yeah.
My wife, she cooks up a lot. You can give her 10 minutes, she'll cook up anything,
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. Well, everyone asks me too. They say, because Lauren and I met through the restaurant industry. So she's a chef. She's a trained chef as well.
Really?
And it's funny because everyone asks, they're like, oh, who does all the cooking at home? It's her. And
That's true.
the food that she can make, my favorite dish.
Here, you pour it in.
And just so let me get a little.
So now this is going to thicken it up a little?
It's going to thicken a little. And this is actually potato starch, right?
Sure,
Yeah, go
tell
on.
me.
Go.
Tell me.
Just pour it
The
right
whole
in.
thing?
It's fine.
All right.
That's good.
Okay.
There we go. My favorite dish that she makes is her Mexican rice. Now there's
Mexican rice?
Mexican rice. Yep. So every single time.
That's it?
Well,
Just the
and
rice?
enchiladas and the enchilada. I'm in trouble now. Sorry, hold on. Let me start that over.
Just the
My
rice,
favorite
babe.
dishes she makes are. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. List them all.
There we go.
Well, I love rice. My wife is the best with rice. I love it. Better than anywhere I can go and get it. Now, Mexican rice, I'm going to be honest with you, out of all the rices, Mexican is kind of my least favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. My kids love it. I don't do anything really special. The
Yeah.
only thing I do at the end, I mince some garlic at the end and let it simmer with it.
Okay.
So it just adds like a nice
And
garlic.
is sauce like a red?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I'll have
the
to try
kids
it.
love it. They go, "You're making the red rice." They call it the red rice.
And don't get me wrong, I like it because I like anything with rice, but that's
Yeah.
kind of,
What's your favorite rice then?
my wife just makes very simple. I don't know if she long grain, I don't know what it is, but it's just very simple. And, it's a white rice and just delicious.
Well, if you notice that.
And we use it with a lot of different foods that
Okay.
she'll make it with,
There's we did an episode on risotto. That was a mistake.
On
You
what?
got every risotto.
Oh, really?
You got every single person on the internet that tells you how to make risotto.
Oh, God.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes you
Well,
Well,
post
that's
something.
the same
Yes.
with like cutting an onion.
Yeah.
People are like, "No, that's not how you cut
Oh
an
yeah,
onion."
the video. As a joke, I said, "Here's how you cut an onion," right? And I did it totally different than what you learn in culinary school. And oh my god, that was the most viral video because everybody's like, "You a-hole, that's not how you cut an
the
onion."
comments were really
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how we have so many experts on social media?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, chef, if I make a mistake and I mix up a date or something, oh my God.
Yeah.
I said, what do these people have? An encyclopedia? Do their research? They come right back at you like immediately.
They're just
You
a
can't
little
make
nuts.
mistakes on social media.
Well,
Yeah,
now,
no.
so what are they thinking? Do they know who you are? And they're trying to correct you?
Yeah, they correct me anyway. Yeah, do you believe it?
No fear anymore these days.
No.
No
I said,
fear.
hide
really?
behind
How
their
did you know
their
that?
keyboard.
Oh, I read it in the newspaper, whatever. I said, okay.
Are
All
we
right, so
doing anything
so here we
else?
go,
Or just
right?
adding
So
some
now what we're
fresh
gonna do,
herbs?
now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of fresh basil, obviously, right? You want to hit me, Lauren, with what do we got over there? We want maybe a little vinegar,
Which one?
the fig balsamic. So this is where at the end is where people forget this is when you got to finish. So you season throughout, right? But I like to finish with vinegar to make it pop. So this is a little just a little fig balsamic vinegar. I'm just gonna add that in there. Let's do what else we got over there, Lauren? That's kind of our seasoning. seasoning tray.
What do we got? I mean, we have more vinegar. That's about it.
Hit it with some fresh cracked pepper, and then I'll grab.
Now, Chef, let me ask you this. You come up with these ideas just on your own, just thinking about it. And how do you come up with these recipes?
Just based on what's at the store, and then I kind of have a foundation that I follow for cooking, right? Very basic, build flavors, start with the savory, get the good sear, like the foundational stuff, finish with acids, finish with fresh ingredients, finish with butter. We'll do a little butter in there at the end, and that's it, right? Like I kind of follow the same formula for every single dish. Now, like this guy right here, I want to get. We can break this down too. Like I would break that down and maybe put it on and put some of the meat on top. Just gonna mix. I like adding the butter at the end just for that beautiful mouthfeel, right?
And I can see how that thickened it up a little bit.
The butter does. Yeah. The butter does. Yep. And the reason I use a potato starch or a cornstarch is that I find that like flour in a sauce is too tacky. It's too thick, right? I want that lighter starch finish on there, so that it's not that kind of gummy, chewy finish. And then,
of course, the chives.
Yeah, I'm known for
everything we eat has chives on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why is that? It's
he just loves.
Just love the flavor.
It's the flavor of the fresh floral, kind of like the somewhat redolent onion, but not too in your face with like raw onion. Aromatics, right? I call them aromatics. We eat with our nose before we eat with our mouth.
True.
So finishing something with just that nice sweet floral at the end is the way to go. Now what I'm going to do here, and this is, this would happen in the back of the kitchen, but before, I want to make sure it's seasoned right before you try it, because I don't want to get. All right, just a little bit of salt in here. Right, we finished with this Vera sea salt. It's a great product, actually. You can find it at the stores. It's plastic. It's like microplastic free.
It's funny too. As I got older, I can taste salt.
Yes.
A lot more now than I
appreciate
did
a good
before.
salt,
yes,
right?
yes. I can taste it a lot more.
There we go, right? And then we'll do maybe. I'm gonna do the backside, make sure it's good. All right, excellent. Now I'll finish it with these chives. And because we talked about olive oil, I'm gonna do just a drizzle.
Olive oil never hurts anything.
Right.
Nothing.
You can put it anywhere, any place.
Should we pour some of your wine? I mean, is that appropriate?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, Lauren.
Absolutely.
All right,
and then what I'll do is, I'm gonna put this here, because I mean, we're going family style here. So what I'm gonna do is.
It's the best way to eat.
Yeah, it is. It is. Half the time, like, we try and get the kids around the table. They're just sitting here at the cutting board half the time.
I know, we never, I don't want to talk about our kitchen table because Andrew won't get rid of it, and there's 6 of us. So we can't even sit if we wanted to.
That is true. So we got this kitchen table. It's one of the old school tables, right? You see? It's got the chairs underneath it, like elementary school. And I found it at some store probably 10 years ago.
A million years ago.
And
2 kids ago.
Yeah, it was. All right, and then we'll get.
Oh boy.
Get some of that juice in there.
It looks and smells terrific.
There we go.
Now, you didn't know this was my favorite kind of food, right?
I did not know that. No, that's what I said. It was like, I don't know where we're going with this. Now, my question to you, I would do this, but this is up to the guest. Aged provolone or no on the finish?
I love provolone.
All right.
Can't hurt. I'm cheese on everything.
All right. Because if it's people don't understand provolone. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I never had shredded provolone really on anything. It's always Romano, but never shredded provolone.
I'm a junkie for the aged provolone.
Really?
We used to go into Arthur Ave. The market's right there on Arthur Ave. Yeah. And you walk through the markets, and they got the people. The cheese counters are handing you cheese. And I remember it as a kid going in with my dad. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, going through, and they're just handing me cheese left and right. And as we grew up eating the cheese, the one thing that stuck, because it stinks, is the provolone, the aged provolone. It's a flavor that I've been obsessed with. It reminds me of my father, it reminds me of New York. That's why we finished with the aged provolone.
I love it.
But this is our final dish. This is awesome that you kind of gave us your time and your story.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's definitely an honor.
Really, I was very excited to come here. When I hear food, I'm ready.
All right.
And I saw a lot of your posts and everything. You're terrific, really.
I think the key now is the next move is that we get this wine in the restaurant.
There we go. Well, you did a handshake.
We did do the handshake.
It's a contract.
No, we did the contract.
We did the contract.
contract.
See, this is why I gotta keep pouring keep me on my toes.
Like they're going to drink to that. We'll seal it even more.
Yeah, there we go.
Salute.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh, that's nice.
That is nice. Wow.
Smooth.
Maybe we're having some wine for dinner tonight.
It's light too.
Yeah.
Like
very light.
It's actually perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect to eat with this.
The mother of Pinot.
Oh, that's
the mother of Pinot. But it's a Pinot grape, right? Or is it?
Wow.
Okay.
Pretty much. We call it a Rennie, but it's kind of similar to a Pinot grape.
Okay.
That is wonderful.
Okay. All right, now
I'm dying to try this.
All right, yeah. I'm gonna get you set up here. Dive in. You dive in.
Right.
We got the pot. We'll eat out of the pot.
Onion.
All right, let me try.
And you see how that chicken just kind of falls apart?
Yes.
That's what I'm looking for. I feel bad though, not knowing your chicken story, that I gave you chicken.
No. I still love chicken. Oh boy. Wow.
That's really good.
You see, you get that smokiness from the ham hock in there.
But the herbs really.
Yeah, the herbs open it up. I mean,
That is terrific. I have to tell you, Chef. Excellent.
That's
And you see, you're so right with dark meat chicken.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Everybody looked at it because they're like, oh, the chicken breast is healthy. There's no difference.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why would it be healthier?
Yeah, there's no
I'm
difference.
guilty of that
chicken.
though, because I think it's healthier.
People like the chicken. I mean, chicken breast tastes like nothing. Here, I'm going for a fat piece of the chicken.
I didn't get chicken last time. That's good.
Potatoes still firm, delicious.
That's good. What's the meal? What's the dish you guys are talking about?
Braciole.
Ravioli. Okay, we need to make that next
Yeah,
time.
we're making that next. All right.
Wonderful.
Well, here we go.
We're gonna have to make some of the audience taste this because this is great. This is something we're gonna duplicate.
We got to figure out how to get taste through the camera.
I know.
It'll happen one day.
I mean, you got pizza vending machines. You can figure it out. You're a technological expert.
I don't know if that will come out of the vent. That's too good for a vending machine. Really, that's great.
Well,
All right.
amazing.
Well, it's been an honor having you.
Thank you so much, Michael.
This was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, of
Terrific.
course. Of course.
Salute. My friends, if you enjoyed this video, I'm going to give you an opportunity to become my partner in business. Franzese Wine experiencing tremendous growth over the past couple of years, and we're going to experience even further growth in the next few years. You're going to have an opportunity to be my partner because you've been supporting me, you've been my fan base, and I want to share this with you. So go to invest.franzesewine.com, and offer you shouldn't refuse.